The south of Portugal has a higher concentration of the megalithic monuments of the Iberian Peninsula. A brief review of the research carried out shows that the earliest references to the megalithic monuments of region date from at least the 15th century, in documents published by Gabriel Pereira in 1887. In the late 19th and early 20th century, more de 700 megalithic monuments were excavated by investigators such as Leite de Vasconcelos, Estacio da Veiga, Nuri Delgado, Carlos Ribeiro, Gabriel Pereira, among others. The first studies carried out was systematic in character, as these researchers were interested in a range of subjects which were too all-inclusive, and megalithic phenomena represented only a single feature among many. At the same time, none of them involved delimited areas of study on the basis of evidence or the specific problems of megalithic remains. Several research projects have been carried out in the Alentejo and Algarve over the last 30 years. The work carried out by these researchers has provided some extremely interesting data about the monuments, and in particular about the raw materials used in their construction. The traditional forms of megalithic building known in Portugal include many forms of monuments with different types of architectures. Small tumulus that have small megalithic graves inside. The mound or tumuli, which is 20 to 30 meters in diameter and 4 to 6 meters high. Small tombs, with a small chamber which may be a planned circular, rectangular or trapezoidal, with lengths of about 2 meters. Great monuments that would have great tombs, megalithic tombs of access passage with chambers. The chamber may be circular, polygonal or trapezoidal, with diameters that could be more than 4 meters. Tholoi. Circular chamber with passage entrance. Sometimes associated with megalithic tombs in Alentejo region. The new rock-cut tombs, negative architectures, invisibility in the landscape. This type of monuments was known in Portugal since the 19th century along the coast of Lisbon, Setúbal and the Algarve. The hypogeme of the Quinta do Anjo in Palmela is a group still in good condition. Group of 4 cavities excavated in limestone outcrops of the Miocene, which have a configuration in alignment with an orientation approximately east-northeast to west-southwest. Its construction must have been hampered by the hardness of the rock. They all have the same type, have a burial chamber subcircular plant whose maximum diameters vary between 4.60 meters and 5.50 meters. At the beginning of the 21st century, by 2006, works of construction of a dam in Alentejo region allowed the identification of new monuments with negative architectures, invisible in the landscape. The hypogea of Sobreira de Cima were identified, and partially destroyed, during the work construction of a central electric in Alcueva. This identification had brought a new perspective in relation to the Neolithic burials, since they do not know each other inside hypogea Southern Portugal. Of the 7 hypogea identified, 5 were located in the building, 3 were already partially destroyed and 2 were excavated. The hypogeum 1 was preserved in articulation with the bones. The bones recovered in this necropolis indicate a small number of burials, without overlapping or reuses. The collected materials in this set is very similar, highlighting the total absence of ceramics. In hypogeum 5, the entrance to the corridor is indicated by find a set of small menhirs or stele. The corridor had a well-found access to sealed or closed with lids and land rocks, amphibolites. Further work to build channels of the Alcueva Dam has revealed that this cemetery is part of a wide range, extending well into the interior of Portugal. The variety that already funeral was to be recorded in southern Spain in recent decades. Porto Toro, large Chalcolithic settlement with hypogea, pits and other associated burials. Some of the burials were found in pit bins. In the space between 2 pits was even built a hypogeum, which partially overlapped the outer gap, demonstrates that its construction took place at a later stage. 1. The funerary monument built in the space between 2 ditches and occupying part of the outer gap at a time when there is evidence that the pits were no longer in use and fully obscured. 6. 1 monument type Thelose, carved into the rock in several burial pits. The Thelose had a camera, great hall and lobby. The chamber was lined with a stone wall that still had the top curve of the false summit. It had traces of the center pole and a red clay floor. The quarter-plan subrectangular, carved into the rock also had traces of floor slabs and red clay. The lobby had a semicircular structure with about 7 meters in diameter. At the southern end had 3 niches, mainstay and remains of 2 pits with bones. Following this circular was also identified an area of movement-oriented rectangular. Located near the town of Porto Torres, the city mortuary Monte Carrasco II. The tomb may be one of the necropolis associated with this town. This site presents a great diversity and complexity of constructions. Valley pit dug in the rock surrounded by graves on both sides. Displays a depth of about 2.10 meters and a width of mouth about 4 feet on the west side, narrowing to the east, and a generally trapezoidal profile, but somewhat irregular. The floor was covered with red clay. Hypogea had the camera and 1 or 2 access corridors. Opening at the top, as the hypogea of the coast. May provide part of the chamber wall built of stone. Enclosed sandstones of schist. Entriasari closed with the hypogea were placed 2 stones and river pebbles, a conch and a full ceramic container. Collective burial. Deposition of secondary bone charred at the entrance. The floor of the pit lobby was filled by a succession of hit layers of clay and large quantities of limestone. All these materials show a chronology of Chalcolithic. In the area of Baringal have identified in the context of the works of construction of a motorway, another funerary complex with structures of different types and chronologies, Neolithic to Islamic. Vale de Barrancas 1. Barrancas 1. Again quite noticeable in a landscape with a soft wavy, these funerary structures have been excavated in the rock. Their spatial association with no overlaps and cuts makes us think that these structures would have to be marked in the landscape until at least the period Roman Islamic. Regarding architectures register the presence of pits and hypogea. The hypogea have different architectural solutions, single chamber and corridor access, double rooms with small access corridor between them, with side niches. The geological conditions of this new area favor the preservation of osteological remains and archaeological materials. Bella Vista 4 is located about 700 meters from Barrancas Valley 1 and also presents a great diversity and complexity of funerary structures, with pits and hypogeuses that sometimes interconnect through superficial channels of unknown functionality. In a brief analysis of the dates available for these negative structures, hypogea, between Lisbon and the Algarve, we find that the dates were obtained for the hypogea and pits fit neatly within the same period of time. If we extend this comparison to see that megalithic dolmens tombs, Thylos and hypogea are being constructed and used, in southern Portugal, in the same period of time. Lithic constructions of societies from the late Neolithic to Chalcolithic of southern Portugal demonstrate the existence of population groups, although they have proven contacts with each other. To exchange materials and raw materials, different construction techniques choose to bury their dead by different types of architecture, both positive and negative. Different concepts of monumentality are very present in the south of Portugal, in late 4th millennium and early 3rd millennium AC. Variability observed in the artifact assemblages and the positive architectural structures, when compared to those of negative structures, could eventually suggest chronological differences. But dates obtained provided, once again, some unexpected insights. Oddly enough, comparison of dates with the artifacts obtained from those monuments revealed that less diversified assemblages, with no plaques nor idols, were not always those providing older dates. Data collected in recent years enable us, for the first time, to have access to unique contexts, and to begin to unravel the particular traits of this region, allowing us to build new interpretations about the evolution of this particular space. Evident discontinuities between the different areas in the south of Portugal must not be explained only by geological differences. There are, above all, cultural and religious differences, whose extent is undetermined without the publication of all the data available. When we compare old and new data, it becomes obvious that some discrepancies are, in some cases, substantial, raising several questions, some that may be presently answered, and others that will probably never be explained, given that we lack important information about them.